Hey everyone, my name is Dave. Welcome to our shop here at NTD Racing. Behind me is Honcho, our 1978 Jeep J10 desert race truck, which we just got done racing at the Baja 1000. And we learned a ton of lessons there, which we'll talk about today. But before I get started, I just wanted to say thanks to all those folks over the past year who've done all that liking and subscribing stuff and left some positive comments. They're motivating. When you leave those things, I sure do appreciate it. I reread all of them. And so just thank you to those folks. So on this video, we're going to talk about two things. One will be the chase truck that ended up saving Honcho at least 2 times in 2 different races, and how Bear put that chase truck together and used some resources and got some really cool tools from places like Harbor Freight. And then second, at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about the lessons that we learned from the Baja 1000, what happened, why I think that we didn't make it very far, and what we're going to do different in the future, and what the future plans are for the next year for NTD Racing. Let's go ahead and get to it.
Hey everybody, my name's Paul with NTD Racing. I'm back here in North Texas about a week after the Baja 1000 2021, and I just want to give another quick video just kind of talking up my chase truck. It was Chase 2, as you saw in Dave's video that he gave when we were down there in Ensenada, but I kind of want to set the record straight a little bit, because this Tacoma I got, this 2009 Tacoma double cab long bed that I bought new all those years ago, was actually, I want to start calling it Rescue 1, because as you saw in Dave's video, a lot of those other vehicles we had down there, that big F-250 that Dave Johnson had that had everything on it, outstanding truck, great job supporting Honcho and ready to go with all that equipment. This Tacoma was Chase 2, but really after looking at Bob, the trailers, that Xterra, Dave's Tundra, there was no other vehicle that really would have been able to go back into the race course and pull Honcho out like this Tacoma did. So I just want to talk about it, some of the things I've done to it and what made it, and give some credit for some people online, YouTube channels that have really helped me make it what it is with minimal skill and experience that I have. But the internet is, and YouTube is all empowering, and specifically K-Flow Tacoma. That guy's channel is the best. He has this exact year, make, model of truck. He does mostly for overlanding. He's got a drop-in trailer, but I think he's a mechanical engineer that does in-depth, outstanding videos on YouTube to help people like me learn how to work on their truck. And he likes beer donations, and NTD Racing, sponsored by Pine House Brewery down in Austin and around North Texas. So I'm going to have to send him some beer from Pine House. So let's get to it. Like Dave mentioned before, down there in Ensenada, do have the Badland Apex 12,000 pound synthetic line. He said Kevlar, but really it's a synthetic line winch. The material technically is ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. Some trade names are Dyneema or Spectra, different brands like that, but that's what this is. I put this on, I put the bumper on, the ARB bumper with the fog light mount model of the ARB bumper, based on, again, K-Flow Tacoma showed me how to do that. When he did his, he put on a different winch that had an adjustable control side. The Badland winch, that's one thing about it, it doesn't have an adjustable control, so the lever for engage and spool, I'll show you that here in a minute, is a little bit harder to get to, but for basically $1,000 less than a comparable like Warn winch, definitely an awesome winch to have. One modification I had to do, the opening here on the where the fair lead goes, the ARB bumper, you can't really see it, but back here where my finger is, the bumper had about a 1/4 inch piece of metal there, so the opening didn't really line up. Took that out with an angle grinder, smoothed it over so there are no sharp edges, painted it so it wouldn't rust. Got some extended bolts to put the fair lead in to the winch from the front, and then had to reposition the control box up here. Pretty straightforward with the mounts here. The mount that comes with it to do this doesn't really fit the ARB bumper, so using the 3D printer from one of Dave's first tooltip videos, printed these little blue spacers about 1 inch square with a 1/4 inch hole in the middle. Was able to screw that in nice and tight and secure. But couldn't be happier with this winch. Haven't had a chance to use it, but if you want an extended review, there's plenty of those out there online. But I was able to take this truck to tow Honcho out from the race course. So I am the only driver that hasn't driven Honcho during a race, but I have driven on the Baja race course in this Tacoma, and it just did such a great job. I wanted to give credit where credit's due, and a lot of reasons this truck was able to do what it did out there was because of videos from K-Flow Tacoma. Specifically, one of the things that I never thought I'd do is change the wheel hub. So a couple months ago, heard this weird vibration, sounded like RPM was high. Did a little quick Google search. One of the suggestions was could be the front wheel bearing. So K-Flow Tacoma showed in detail great how to do that. Saved untold thousands of dollars doing it myself, because these wheel hubs I found online for about 80 bucks a pop. Followed K-Flow's instructions step by step, got it done on both sides. Once I got that done, tested it to make sure the sound had gone away, and as I'm accelerating away to see if that vibration is gone, a new sound pops up, and it's a squeak, 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 kind of in line with the speed and acceleration. Again, quick Google search, and it turns out that my universal joints on my axle or on my drive shaft are bad. So again, not something I ever thought I'd do, but you can see back there, had the whole drive shaft out for a few weeks trying to figure out how to do that. K-Flow Tacoma led me straight, got those all switched, and everything works like a champ. And this truck, I haven't washed it yet because I wanted to kind of hold on to the Baja 1000 experience a little bit longer, but I still got the Baja silt on here. The trail that we went opposite direction, once we realized that no trucks were running, we could go in and get Baja, was so gnarly. I think it might have been kind of the back half of the goat trail, but I still had my hitch ball in there, and you can see I hit this. There were so many, down and then up immediately. Took a few gouges out of there. Lost the bracket for my pin, my trailer pin. Have that tied up now, but I'll get some 3D print plans and redo that. The only other things I've done to this truck to make it a little bit more than stock was a leveling kit with Bilstein 5100 shocks in the front and back, and then an add-a-leaf in the back for the suspension. And I got new wheels and tires recently. These are -30 offset wheels, which pushes them away from the truck a little bit to fit basically 33. These are light truck 285/70 R17s, which equals about a 33-inch tire. And again, right before going to Baja this year, I didn't want to get down there, do some off-roading, and have everybody make fun of me because I still had tire rub. So I did, again, K-Flow Tacoma showed me how to do the cab mount chop, which ends up being this thing. Again, I'm not a welder or anything, but I used an angle grinder where K-Flow used a plasma cutter to cut the cab mount out, and then welded this piece of 1/8 inch. I think K-Flow did 3/16, but I did 1/8 inch with a stick welder. Just kind of made it work. Frustrating for a while, but got it. So mostly the tires don't rub. However, the ultimate articulation that I found going on that trail end to get Honcho at 3:30 in the morning in the dark, there is something that I didn't expect. If you can see right here, so the inside of my ARB bumper and these tires, there's some rubbing right here. I've actually rubbed the powder coat off of this ARB bumper, so I'll have to address that. My plan is to put a jack on this front driver's side and the back passenger side to try to maximize the articulation and kind of see if that rubbing was just a result of the extreme kind of gnarly trail we had to do to go get Honcho this year, or if it's something that I need to really address. It happened a little bit on the passenger side, but not nearly as bad. All right, to wrap up the winch kind of review, so I opened my hood, and you can see down right there the spool and engage. It's not in focus down there, is right down there, and from this side I can't quite reach it. And again, the Badland Apex winch doesn't have a rotatable control box, but from this side, kind of the driver's side, I can flip it pretty easily. It goes pretty good if the gears are nice and lined up. It kind of is not coming very easily back, but if I just pull on the winch a little bit, it'll be able to go back. So my plan is to drill a hole in this lever, put a soft shackle that I make out of Dyneema right here, then have kind of a rod, like something that I can pull, turn, and push, and engage it on both sides and get it going the other way. So when it doesn't engage like that, it's in the unspool, so you just kind of pull this out a little bit, give it a little bit of switch the gears around a bit, and then it goes over nice and easy to the engage point. All right, so that's really all I got. Like I said, a leveling kit, give it a little bit of a lift, 33-inch tires, Bilstein 5100s, add a leaf in the back, 30 plus 30 offset tires or wheels to push the tires out a little bit. Other than that, a 2009 Gen 2 Tacoma double cab long bed went into the Baja 1000 race and pulled out a race truck, and I got a little bit of video of that I'm going to add to this. So their teammates are jokingly calling me Tow Mater, because 2 times down to the Baja with this truck, 2 times I've towed Honcho. One was Dave's trailer because nobody could find the keys to his Tundra, so I took the trailer down to put Honcho in after Angela's Jeep took the repair crew back into the backcountry to get it fixed. This time, this truck, and no other truck we had with us would have done it, would have been able to do it, went in and was able to pull Honcho out after the radiator overheat, and had to use a tow strap. Again, a Badlands tow strap from Harbor Freight, worked great. We didn't need the stretch for the snatch out of a sand or anything like that, but it was nice towing because there was a lot of up and down, a lot of what would have been very rough on a non-dynamic tow strap. So the one with the stretch worked great. So that's all I got. So like and subscribe, help us out, and support Folds of Honor, and stay tuned for more NTD Racing videos.
Bear's chase truck is awesome, and it's built on a great platform. The Toyota Tacoma is just one of the greatest platforms to build a truck on, and some of the modifications that you can make with some of the cool tools like his winch and those kinds of things, and the resources that he has, it makes it even better. Let's talk a little bit about what happened in the race. Well, there was a couple of things. Somebody asked me before the race, what do I think our chances are of finishing the race? And I was like, I think maybe 30%. I don't know. It's a tough race. 50% for the best drivers out there, and maybe 30% for us. And I thought that the reason that we would not finish would be because maybe some kind of mechanical failure and maybe some kind of driver error. And if you think about that, kind of encompasses everything. And I think that we had a little bit of both, maybe more of the mechanical failure part. So let me talk about those. The first thing I'll talk about is a little bit of driver skills. And being a new team like we are, a lot of time we're seeing some of the things that we're seeing out there for the first time as a driver. Say, for example, silt, which we got stuck in silt twice. And you know what? We learned some lessons along the way, and we'll get better from that. And the only way you learn is by going out and doing it half the time. So some of the things that we'll do to change that is we'll probably swap some drivers around. We will put some drivers who could use a little more instruction with guys who have a little bit more experience, try to bring them both up, at the same time. And then we'll have, just across the board, we'll have better drivers, navigators, and a team in general. And the second one was all my fault. It was mechanical. Let me walk you around with the camera, show you what I did wrong, and how we're going to fix it in the future. It's actually pretty easy what we'll do differently. So if you've been following along, you know I've had the engine in and out of this thing a whole bunch of times as I've been changing out the transmission and doing some work. So here is the big error, and let me show you how it affected us. Here are our coolant lines. One line coming from the engine, one going back to the engine from the radiator. Just realize that as you have a long travel suspension like we have up here, the place where your radiator normally is now occupied by a suspension part. So we put the radiator in this vehicle in the back. So these lines are running all the way to the back of the truck, and I'll show you that in a second, all the way back to the front. Well, after pulling this engine in and out about 5 times, I swapped them on accident. I have the line going to the radiator going to the wrong side, and the line coming back on the wrong side. So why does that affect us? Let me show you. Here are the coolant lines going from the engine all the way up to our CBR radiator. And this one right here is actually the line that should be going from the engine to the radiator. But in this case, it's going from the radiator to the engine. And why is that a problem? Well, it isn't always a problem, and here's why. If you have your radiator full of liquid all the way to the top, or if the car is, say, leaning to the right, then as the coolant coming in this bottom hose down here fills up the radiator with hot coolant, hot water, or coolant, whatever you have in there, and it fills it up, it just flows over, goes over the top and goes down this line and continues down to the engine. And everything works fine as long as you have plenty of coolant in the radiator. But as we sat out there idling, and I think that the car was maybe tilted off to the side a little bit, now making this the highest point on the radiator, what happened is we started leaking out a little bit of coolant, and actually came out through this fitting, leaking out a little coolant, lowering the level of the coolant. And then now as the water pump was forcing water into the lower side, it was bubbling up and it just couldn't push it over the top and into this side and down the side. And we started having no flow from the radiator back to the engine, and the engine overheated. And it kept doing that. We couldn't figure out why. And as long as it was full, it was fine, because we tested this car for hours and hours with it the way that it's set up. But as soon as we started losing coolant, then it would start overheating. And we didn't figure that out until we came back to our headquarters and really chased down what the problem was. And at the end of the day, we took a car that was basically totally race ready, except for swapping those two lines. We took it off the course. This truck is totally ready to go. And that's why all I really needed to do to get this thing ready for us to go and race the Mint 400 next is swap those two lines. Now, there are a couple other things I will be doing over here inside the cockpit. I am changing out some of our brake masters right here that are right on top of the driver's legs. Right now we have the bores on those are 7/8 inch bores, and we're just not getting as much brake pressure as I would like. We used to have 1 inch and it really wasn't a lot. It got better with a 7/8 inch bore. We're gonna go with a 3/4 inch bore to create brake pressure. It'll give us a little bit more throw of the pedal, but ultimately greater brake pressure with the same amount of foot pressure, and that's what we ultimately want. So those will be the changes that we make. And lastly, one of the reasons I think that we didn't finish it was because of where I was. I am the guy who probably has the most knowledge of the truck and how to build it. I've got two other fantastic mechanics, my buddy Josh, my buddy David, and those guys are excellent. And they actually, before I made it back, they figured out what was wrong, that the coolant was traveling the wrong direction. But maybe had I been there, we would have been able to sort it out actually on the course and then continue the race from there. But we just didn't give ourselves the opportunity. The reason was, it was just our plan. I was going to race the second half of the race. I was 400 miles south when all this was going on, and we were getting all the information over text messages. So in the future, I've got to chase the vehicle from beginning to end, and I'm going to probably will still drive, but I'll either drive in the first or second group of drivers. And just one of the changes that we got to make as we're learning to do this better, time after time. Eventually, we'll conquer this monster, which is Baja, the most intense race. It really is difficult to describe how intense this race is. And we made it 120 miles, but if you look, there was just cars littered all around us. We can do better though. The truck should have made it better, and we'll fix that. We'll fix that with driver training, a little bit better, a little more attention to detail on mechanics of the vehicle, and we'll be a better team for it. So what's coming up next for NTD Racing? Some really cool stuff. We got the Mint 400 we'll be racing in March. In September, we'll be doing the Baja 400. And then in November again next year, we're going for the Baja 1000, try to make this thing happen one more time. And during that whole time, I'm going to start building the next desert race truck. Maybe we bring two of them to the Baja 1000. We'll see. It's kind of a long shot, maybe 20% chance that actually happens. Well, hopefully we'll just get Honcho there. Who knows? Maybe we show up with two vehicles to start the next race. That would be pretty awesome. Anyways, with that, I hope you'll consider following me in that next build as I put the Crossfire XR to work. And we also get to work a little bit more with Bentech again as we build another roll cage. That is super exciting. So a lot of great content coming up. We'll see you next week, and I hope you'll follow us. Take care of yourself.